Hello everyone. Today's session we will take the topic neurons, structure and function. In chapter life processes, we study the notion that anything that moves is considered to be alive. So all the organisms around us will be considered distinguished as living or non-living on the basis of the movement shown by them. Now all these movements are considered to be the growth based also. For example, plants. When we put a seed inside the soil, it grows into a plant and gradually into a tree. So the if growth stops, the movement also stops. But in our surroundings, we cannot consider all the movements as growth-based movements. As on the slide, we can see certain movements going on. Tom is running behind the Jerry, a person is sneezing, a stem of a plant is appearing to be little bit bent, or in the case of a person walking is suddenly pulling their leg up. So in all these movements we cannot find any growth. Then the question arises that what is causing these movements? What is triggering these movements actually? So the triggering of these movements, the possibility of these movements is actually because of a term called as stimuli, or in other words we call it as stimulus in singular. Here the Jerry, the dust, the sunlight and the heat, they are considered to be the stimuli for those movements. Now the stimulus, we consider Jerry as stimulus because once the Jerry comes in front of Tom, it starts running. Once the dust or pollen grains, if by chance get inhaled, then the person starts sneezing. Whenever the sunlight is falling on a plant, the branches of the plant automatically starts moving towards the light's presence, and the person who was walking and suddenly touched the hot object, so the heat is triggering that person is pulling its leg up. So overall, stimulus can be considered as any environmental change. That environmental change can be in the form of sound, can be in the form of light, can be in the form of any pollen grain, any chemical, all these environmental changes which are able to produce a reaction or that response which is actually the movement. So a stimulus is nothing but the environmental changes that are able to produce a response. Now, what is response? A response is nothing but the reaction which is produced by any kind of stimuli. If we listen a loud music, suddenly we close our ears. So closing of ears is a response on hearing the loud noise. So loud noise will be considered as a stimulus and the closing of ears will be considered as a response. So all these running of Tom, sneezing of the person, bending of the stem and pulling of the leg are considered to be as the responses. So in nutshell we can say that all the body functions which are performed by an organism are actually the responses, and responses are generated because of the stimulus. So in that part, the body functions are stimulus generated. Now if we think more about the movements are carefully controlled in an organism's body. For example, if we are sitting in a classroom where the teacher is taking a lecture, and if we want to share something to our friend, we will never shout. we will simply whisper in their ears, or we will show some light movement, so that we consider that in this case, with this example, we can understand that whatever movement a body is showing is depending upon the event that is triggering the movement. For example, the condition based, then the event which is demanding the right response. So a body, human body, has a mechanism by which it is able to produce the correct response as per the requirement of the event in its surroundings. So all those controlled movements are handled by, in an organism's body, by an organ system named as nervous system. So all the organisms, they are under the control of nervous system. Now what is nervous system? It is an organ system which is a combination of brain, spinal cord and nerves. So when all the three organs, they work together and they do the function of controlling and coordination. Now what do you mean by the control? A nervous system means brain and spinal cord are able to control the working of body parts, body organs. Like controlling means when to start a particular function and when to stop a particular function. So this is all done by the nervous system, that is brain and spinal cord. Now another function they perform is coordination. Coordination means creating a harmony in working of organs, so that with an efficiency the whole body can work together. All the parts of the body can work together. So a nervous system is an organ system which performs two functions: the control of the body functions and the coordination of the body functions with the help of the very basic unit called as neuron. Now, this nervous system actually creates a connection with the immediate surrounding, that is environment, in order to produce a response. As in this slide we can see that inside the animal's body, this nervous system is keeping a connection with the environment outside, where so many stimuli are there, and in order to produce a favorable response, the biggest mediator is the nervous system inside the animal's body. So between stimuli and a particular response generated, nervous system plays a crucial role. Now the question arises, who receives the stimulus? Stimulus means any kind of change which is existing in the environment, occurring in the environment, in the surroundings, and who will receive inside our body. So the answer comes as neuron. A neuron is able to receive the stimulus. Now we will see in our next slides how and what mannerism it receives the stimulus. So, but because of this very important role, the neuron is considered to be as the structural and functional unit of nervous system. It is called a structural unit of nervous system because it is the whole nervous system, whether it is brain or whether it is spinal cord, they are actually made up of nerves. Another thing, functional unit, all the body functions, their control, their coordination, which is actually done by brain and spinal cord, is done with the help of neurons. So until and unless the neurons do not function, no work can be done inside the human body. Now, after receiving the stimulus by a neuron, its entry inside the body, the entry of a stimulus whether it is a light, whether it is a smell, whether it is taste, or any kind of touch. All these various kinds of stimuli, they are able to enter inside the human body by a gateway. That gateway is called as sense organ. We have 5 sense organs with us. On the basis of these 5 sense organs, we receive 5 kinds of stimuli from the environment. If the first one is eye, so if light is to be received inside our body, then the gateway is the eyes. Eyes receive the stimulus light. Same way, nose receive the stimulus smell. Ears receive the stimulus sound. Tongue receive the stimulus taste. It can be bitter, it can be sour, it can be salty. And the skin receives the stimulus touch. So on the basis of, but we already told that who receives the stimulus? It is received by the neurons. So neurons, the part of neurons is attached to the sense organs, to the outside, and another part of the neuron is attached with the sense organs inside the body. So all these stimuli through the channel of neurons, also called as receptors, they will enter into the body, or we call it as manifestation. They enter into the body through sense organs. So various kind of receptors are named, or the neurons are named on the basis of stimuli. If light is there, the receptors or the neurons will be called as photoreceptors. Smell, olfactory, sound, phonoreceptor, taste, gustatoreceptors, and touch, tangoreceptors. So on the basis of these receptors, the stimuli enters into the body through the gateway of sense organs. Now, what does a neuron carry? A neuron carries a nerve impulse. Now, what is nerve impulse? Nerve impulse is a kind of an electrochemical signal. This electrochemical signal is generating inside the neuron, and it reaches to another neuron. So from one neuron to another neuron and another neuron to another neuron, it gradually travels throughout the body and reaches to various parts of the body. Now this electrochemical signal is actually generating because of certain ions present inside and outside of a neuron. The most common neurons which plays a very important role in generation of nerve impulse are sodium, potassium, and chloride ions. So these ions have a very crucial role in order to generate a nerve impulse. How do they do it? It is being explained to you in higher classes. Now we would like to understand how does a neuron look like. So the nervous system basic unit is neuron. It is the fundamental, structural and functional unit of a nervous system. And if we look at a neuron, as you can see here, a neuron is appear to look like a tree. As tree has branches, a neuron has a cyton part with so many branches coming out of it. A tree has a trunk, so a neuron has also a trunk part called as axon. Similar to the roots of a tree, the neuron has a terminal end which is having so many branches at the bottom. So if we look at these 3 basic parts of neuron, that is cyton, axon and terminal end. Cyton or the cell, we also call cyton as cell also. So cyton or cell is that part of the neuron which acquires an information from outside in the form of stimulus. The stimulus can be light, heat, sound, taste or anything else. Another part of the neuron is axon. it is that part of the neuron through which the information is passing. The information is passing in the form of electrical or nerve impulses. And the last part is the terminal end of the neuron, where it is the part where all the nerve impulses, they changes into, which are actually the electrochemical signals, electrical signals, they turn themselves, they convert themselves into the chemical signals. So now we will see to the structure of neuron in detail. Now as you can see, it's various parts of neuron with functions. Now we will start with the first part, that is cyton. Cyton is a normal cell, but since we are talking about nerve cell, so we call it as a cyton. Like every cell, it has a cell membrane, but this cell membrane is actually modified into some fine processes called as dendrons. So the first part of the neuron is the cell body, or we call it as cell only, which actually organizes and keeps the cell functional, the neuron or the nerve cell functional. Now the outer membrane of the cell, this cell contains a nucleus also, and the outer membrane is modified into some processes called as dendrons. So these dendrons further they modify or they branch out into fine short processes, and these processes are called as dendrites. So dendrites are actually the part of the neuron which receives the stimulus, which receives the information from outside. Now when any one of these dendrons, when they elongate themselves, then such a dendron is called as axon. Now this axon is responsible for transferring the nerve impulses from the cyton part to the end part of that. Now many a times this axon is covered by a myelin sheath which is interrupted at certain points. Now this myelin sheath has a very important role. It increases the speed of the nerve impulses, and there is one terminal also called as nodes of Ranvier. Now this nodes of Ranvier is helping to diffuse the ions. As I have already told you, sodium chloride and potassium ions, so their diffusion is done actually at the nodes of Ranvier area. Some Schwann cells are also present inside the axon part, and they are producing the myelin sheath. So basically, if we want to speed up the nerve impulses traveling inside the axon, it is done by myelin sheath. Now at the end, the terminal end of the neuron is again bifurcated into some processes, and this terminal end, it is creating a junction with the dendrites of another neuron. So the terminal end is responsible for generating a connection with another neuron with the help of dendrites. Now, when an electric impulse reaches to the terminal end, then at this point of this terminal end, the electrical impulses, they changes into a chemical. They start releasing a chemical. That chemical is called as neurotransmitter, and this neurotransmitter, most common neurotransmitter is dopamine somewhere, or cholecystokinin. In short, we call it as cholecystokinin. So these are some of the chemicals which are liberated from the terminal end of the neuron, and when these are liberated, they are received by the dendrites of another neuron. So a connection, a proximity, this kind of proximity which is made between the terminal end of a neuron and between the dendrites of another neuron is called as synapse. So synapse can be called as a junction also, where the terminal end of one neuron associates with the dendrites of another neuron, and during this association, in this junction, they release a neurotransmitter chemical which is again received by the dendrites of another neuron, and the nerve impulses journey continues. So overall, if we see the pathway of nerve impulse in a neuron, the information in the form of stimuli is received by the dendrites of the neuron. Through dendrites, it passes on to dendrons. Through dendrons, it passes on to the cell of the neuron, or also called as cyton. Then inside that, it passes through the axon, the long fiber-like structure, and at the end of the fiber, that is axon terminal, it connects with synapse, and this synapse, through that the nerve impulse finally reaches to the dendrite of the another neuron. And this is how the transmission of information from one part to another part continues. Now, in the process of thinking in the body, brain plays a crucial role. When we talk about the thinking process, the stimuli which is received by the neurons is taken to the brain, where brain analyzes it, and again brain sends the message to the neurons to particular human organs, the body organs, where actually the working is to be done. If we see the process of thinking inside a brain, it is not very fast process, because if suppose you have listened a sound, the sound is received by the phonoreceptors which are present in your ears. These phonoreceptors will take the message to the brain, and from inside the brain, the sound will be analyzed, it will be detected, and then according to that sound, whether it is loud or feeble, the hand will be given a message by the brain to come up and close the ears or not. So this is a long process, this is an elaborated process which takes a long time. But if suppose any kind of dangerous situation is coming, then in that case the long thinking process of brain will not be advantageous to the body. So in this case, we need some other option, we need some other alternative. Another important reason that is in some animals, they do not contain the complex network of neurons, and in absence of complex network of neurons, the sending of messages from brain to various parts of the body gets delayed. So because of these two problems, a support system in terms of reflex arc is evolved from the conventional method of sending messages. So thinking process of brain has actually given rise to an efficient method of responses, where in the case of danger or in the case of emergency situations, the movements can be generated which will help the body to prevent from danger. Before proceeding with the reflex arc, we need to understand the three kinds of actions. The three kinds of actions are reflex actions, involuntary actions, and voluntary actions. Before proceeding to reflex actions, involuntary actions are those actions which are not controlled by our will. For example, digestion process. Digestion process or respiration process or circulation process or excretion process inside our body are not under our control. That means they are not controlled by our will. If we want to control them, we cannot control them. So such kind of actions are called as involuntary actions. Voluntary actions are the actions which are controlled by our will. For example, if we want to move up and down our legs or our hands, or bend our body or turn our neck. So these are the movements, these are the actions which are easily depending on our will. We can control them, how much to bend or how much to turn. So such are called as voluntary actions. But when we talk about reflex actions are actually the spontaneous actions. Within a fraction of seconds they happen. They are automatic, which are not under the control of brain, we can call it as. And they are mechanical responses to a particular stimulus. They act on a specific receptor and they are again without the will of an animal. So all these actions which are spontaneously generating and automatic, not under the control of brain, are considered as reflex actions. Now we have certain examples of reflex actions in our daily life, such as blinking of eyes. If you observe, you will understand it is not under the control of brain. It happens spontaneously. Similarly, when we accidentally touch our hand on any hot or cold, extremely cold object, then we withdraw our hand. When we accidentally come in exposure of any needle or any sharp thing, then we immediately withdraw our foot or hand from it. So such an actions which are very spontaneous, within a fraction of a second they get performed. Similarly, the movement of diaphragm during the respiration, coughing process, yawning process, a knee-jerk reflex. If you hang your legs from a height and suddenly you jump down, a jerk generates in your knees. That is called as knee-jerk reflex. And the most fascinating one, when you see any food item and the water starts, the saliva starts generating in your mouth. So all these are the very common processes which we are familiar with, but these actions are not under the control of brain because they are reflex actions. A very big advantage of these reflex actions are that they actually prevent the overloading and overtaxing of brain. Means excessive workload is reduced because of these reflex actions. And along with that, the energy supply, the over consumption of energy by the brain is also get reduced when these reflex actions are performed. Similarly, another big advantage to them is that they give a quick response to harmful stimuli without sending it to CNS. CNS means brain itself. So reflex actions are always helping us to prevent our body from harmful kind of environmental changes. Any kind of environmental change which may be harmful to us or can be easily handled by the generation of reflex actions. And last is, it has a survival value, because in many accidental and emergency conditions, the reflex actions help us to save our lives, save our body functions from getting deteriorated. Now, all these reflex actions, they are actually controlled by spinal cord. So the spinal cord is the organ which is actually responsible for controlling all these reflex actions. Now another term called as reflex arc is introduced here. It is actually the path which is taken by the nerve impulse in a reflex action. If we are saying blinking of eyes, so blinking of eyes is a reflex action. So this reflex action is following which path in the body in order to be controlled. So the path followed by blinking of eyes inside the body, where the spinal cord is going to control it, is called as reflex arc. Now there are certain components of the reflex arc which will handle the whole blinking process. First one is receptors. Receptors, as I have told you earlier, are nothing but the neurons which are present in the sense organs, and they receive the information or the stimulus from external environment. The second component of reflex arc is called as a sensory neuron, which is also called as afferent neuron, and these neurons are carrying the information from receptors, that is the neurons, to the spinal cord or the brain. Here in the case of reflex action, it will be the spinal cord. So the information from sense organs to the spinal cord is taken by sensory neuron. Now the third part is CNS, that is spinal cord in the case of reflex action, but in other cases the brain is the central nervous system. The full form of CNS is central nervous system. So spinal cord, after receiving the impulses from sensory neuron, it analyzes them, it interprets them and converts them into another kind of information that is called as motor impulses. Now these motor impulses will be carried by another set of neurons called as motor neurons, also called as efferent neurons, from the spinal cord to the body organ. Body organs are also called as effector organs. And the last component is where the actually response is going to be generated. So if we have to pull our leg, so leg is the effector organ, the muscles of the legs are the effector organs, where the motor neuron will reach and command them in order to pull the leg away or towards it. Now with the help of this diagram also we can understand that the sensory neuron will receive the receptors are the neurons which are actually present in the sense organs. So the inside the sense organs, the neurons will receive the stimulus from outside. They will receive the stimulus from outside, and with the help of sensory neurons, that stimulus will be carried to the spinal cord. The spinal cord looks like this. It has two parts, and when it enters, then inside the spinal cord, the whole process of interpretation and the processing of that information will be done. And inside the spinal cord, they contain a relay neuron. A neuron is also called as relay neuron. Here it is being highlighted as interneuron. So another name of that is relay neuron. So this relay neuron will process the whole information inside the spinal cord, and again it will be converted into the new information, and that new information will be taken by the motor neuron, and finally it will reach to the muscles of the body organ, where which is also called as effector organ, and the response will be shown by the body parts. So through this flow chart also the same information is proceeded. Sensory neuron will carry the nerve impulse to spinal cord, where relay neuron will process it, and with the again nerve impulses will be carried by motor neuron, and motor neuron will take them to the effector organs, that is muscles or the glands. So ultimately, we have studied about the basic structural and functional unit of nervous system, that is neuron. You will be surprised to know some interesting facts about neurons. Number one, it is never going to be repaired once damaged. So this is only the cell in our human body which is never going to be repaired. All other body cells can be easily repaired, but we cannot repair a neuron once it gets damaged in any case. Another thing, it is the longest cell in our body. In terms of length, if we say, it is the longest cell of the body. And they are generated only once in the lifetime. At the time of birth only, they are generated in the body. And with the aging part, probably by 20 years onwards, the neuron starts damaging or reducing in number. And by the age of 75 years approximately, 1/10 of the neurons of our body gets damaged. So it is the most crucial body part which is helping in transferring the messages from one part of the body to the another part with the help of brain and spinal cord, and also it is helping the nervous system of the body to make a rapport with the immediate external surrounding. So I hope this is how the very control and coordination is done by the nervous system of our body. That's all for now. Thank you.